Hiya. Hello. Hello. Oh, wait, is my mic on? Yes, it is on. Good, good, good. Hello. Oh, what's that doing there? That was the last left over from last time's failed stream. But yeah. Honestly, this is completely unplanned. I just wanted to do something relaxing, just because I'm admittedly not in the best place right now. So let's move my mic a bit closer. Yeah, we're just gonna read some of Winnie the Pooh. I'm fortunate enough to have borrowed a book from a family member who which has the collection of the stories written by A. Milne. Oh my. So let's just read the introduction which he wrote first off. If you happen to have read another book about Christopher Robin, you may remember that he once had a swan, or the swan had Christopher Robin, I don't know which, and that he used to call this swan Pooh. That was a long time ago, and when we said goodbye, we took the name with us. Oh, actually, hang on one second. Before we carry on, let's get an image up. Where's the thing I had gone? Oh dear, it's not there. There we go. There we go, just a visual indicator of what we're doing on stream today. Anyway, let's start again. If you happen to have read another book about Christopher Robin, you may remember that he once had a swan, or the swan had Christopher Robin, I don't know which, and that he used to call this swan Pooh. That was a long time ago, and when we said goodbye, we took the name with us, and we didn't think the swan would want it anymore. No, as we didn't think the swan would want it anymore. Well, when Edward Burr said that he would like an exciting name all to himself, Christopher Robin said at once, without stopping to think, that he was Winnie the Pooh. And he was. So, as I have explained the Pooh part, I will now explain the rest of it. You can't be in London for long without going to the zoo. There are some people who begin the zoo at the beginning, called weigh-in, and walk as quickly as they can past every cage until they get to the one called way out. But the nicest people go straight to the animal they love the most and stay there. So, when Christopher Robin goes to the zoo, he goes to where the polar bears are, and he whispers something to the third keeper from the left, and the doors are unlocked, and we wander through dark passages and up steep stairs until at last we come to the special cage. And the cage is opened, and out trots something brown and fairy. And with a happy cry of, "Oh, bear!" Christopher Robin rushes into its arms. Now this bear's name is Winnie, which shows what a good name for bears it is. But the funny thing is that we can't remember whether Winnie is called after Pooh or Pooh after Winnie. We did know once, but we have forgotten. I'd written as far as this when Piglet looked up and said in his squeaky voice, "What about me?" "My dear Piglet," I said, "the whole book is about you." So it is about Pooh. So it is about Pooh, he squeaked. You see what it is. He is jealous because he thinks Pooh is having a grand introduction all to himself. Pooh is the favourite, of course. There's no denying it. But Piglet comes in for a good many things which Pooh misses. Because you can't take Pooh to school without everybody knowing it. But Piglet is so small that he slips into a pocket, where it is very comforting to feel him when you are not quite sure whether twice 7 is 12 or 72. Sometimes he slips out and has a good look in the ink pot, and in this way he has got more education than Pooh. But Pooh doesn't mind. Some have brains and some haven't, he says. And there it is. And now all the others are saying, "What about us?" So, perhaps the best thing to do is to stop writing introductions and get on with the book. Maybe we're going to read like a chapter or two this evening. I don't know, I'm going to see how much we can get done. It's kind of awkward having to find a good way to hold the book, honestly. I could do with like a music stand for this kind of thing. That would be nice. Oh well. Chapter 1, in which we are introduced to Winnie the Pooh and some bees, and the stories begin. Here is Edward Bear, coming downstairs now, bump, 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 on the back of his head, behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs, but sometimes he feels that there really is another way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom and ready to be introduced to you. Winnie the Pooh. When I first heard his name, I said, just as you were going to say, but I thought he was a boy. So did I, said Christopher Robin. Then you can't call him Winnie. I don't. But you said he's Winnie the Pooh. Don't you know what "there" means? Ah, yes, now I do, I said quickly. And I hope you do too, because it is all the explanation you're going to get. Oh, that's good. Oh, is that the right page? Cool. I hope the page rustling isn't too annoying either. Sometimes Winnie the Pooh likes a game of some sort when he comes downstairs, and sometimes he likes to sit quietly in front of the fire and listen to a story. This evening... What about a story? Said Christopher Robin. What about a story? I said. Could you very sweetly tell Winnie the Pooh one? I suppose I could, I said. What sort of stories does he like? About himself, because he's that sort of bear. Oh, I see. So could you very sweetly? I'll try, I said. So I tried. Once upon a time, a very long time ago now, about last Friday, Winnie the Pooh lived in a forest all by himself, under the name of Sanders. What does under the name mean? Asked Christopher Robin. It means he had the name over the door in gold letters and lived under it. Winnie the Pooh wasn't quite sure, said Christopher Robin. Now I am, said a growly voice. Then I will go on, said I. One day, when he was out walking, he came to an open place in the middle of the forest, and in the middle of this place was a large oak tree, and from the top of the tree there came a loud buzzing noise. Winnie the Pooh sat down at the foot of the tree, put his head between his paws, and began to think. First of all, he said to himself, That buzzing noise means something. You don't get a buzzing noise like that. Just buzzing and buzzing without it meaning something. If there's a buzzing noise, Somebody's making a buzzing noise, and the only reason for making a buzzing noise that I know of is because you're a bee. This is so delightfully charming. What a wonderfully resin. Then he thought another long time and said, "And the only reason for being a bee that I know of, is making honey." And then he got up and said, "And the only reason for making honey is so I can eat it." So he began to climb the tree. He climbed and he climbed and he climbed. And as he climbed, he sang a little song to himself. It went like this. By the way, it's a shame I don't have a digital copy to read through with you all, because the illustrations in this, who's the artist again? The illustrations are fantastic. Who was E.H. Shepard? Yeah, they're just lovely to look at. Yeah, he sung to himself. It went like this. Isn't it funny how a bear likes honey? Buzz, buzz, buzz. I wonder why he does. Then he climbed a little further, and a little further, and just a little further. By that time he had thought of another song. It's a very funny thought, if birds were bees, they'd build their nests at the bottom of trees. And that being so, if the bees were bears, we shouldn't have to climb all these stairs. Oh, Pooh. He was getting rather tired by this time, so that is why he sang a complaining song. He was nearly there now. If he just stood on that branch... "Oh, help," said Pooh, as he dropped 10 feet onto the branch below him. If only I hadn't, he said, as he bounced 20 feet onto the next branch. "You see what I meant to do," he explained as he turned head over heels and crashed onto another branch 30 feet below. "What I meant to do? Of course it was rather," he admitted, as he slithered very quickly through the next 6 branches. "It all comes, I suppose," he decided as he said goodbye to the last branch, spun round 3 times, and flew gracefully into a gorse bush. "It all comes of liking honey so much. Oh, help." He crawled out of the gorse bush, brushed the prickles from his nose, and began to think again. And the first person he thought of was Christopher Robin. "Was that me?" said Christopher Robin in an awed voice, hardly daring to believe. "That was you." Christopher Robin said nothing, but his eyes got larger and larger, and his face got pinker and pinker. So Winnie the Pooh went round to his friend Christopher Robin, who lived behind a green door in another part of the forest. "Good morning, Christopher Robin," he said. "Good morning, Winnie the Pooh," said you. God, the artwork on this is just lovely. "I wonder if you've got such a thing as a balloon about you." "A balloon?" "Yes, I just said to myself coming along, I wonder if Christopher Robin has such a thing as a balloon about him. I just said it to myself, thinking of balloons and wondering." "What do you want a balloon for?" you said. Winnie the Pooh looked round to see that nobody was listening, put his paw to his mouth, and said in a deep whisper, "Honey." "But you don't get honey with balloons." "I do," said Pooh. "Well, it just happened that you had been to a party that day before at the house of your friend Piglet, and you had balloons at the party. You had had a big green balloon, and one of our relations had had a big blue one, and had left it behind, being really too young to go to a party at all. And so you had brought the green one and the blue one home with you." "Which one would you like?" you asked Pooh. He put his head between his paws and thought very carefully. "It's like this," he said. "When you go after honey with a balloon, the great thing is to not let the bees know you're coming. Now, if you have a green balloon, they might think you are only part of the tree and not notice you. And if you have a blue balloon, they might think you are only part of the sky and not notice you. And the question is, which is most likely?" "Wouldn't they notice you underneath the balloon?" I asked. No, you asked. "They might or they might not," said Winnie the Pooh. "You can never tell with bees." He thought for a moment and said, "I shall try to look like a small black cloud that will deceive them." "And you had better have the blue balloon," he said, and so it was decided. Well, you both went out with a blue balloon, and you took your gun with you, just in case, as you always did, and Winnie the Pooh went to a very muddy place that he knew of and rolled until he was black all over, and then, when the balloon was blown up as big as he, it was blown up as big, rather, and you and Pooh were both holding on to the string, you let go suddenly, and Pooh Bear floated gracefully up into the sky and stayed there, level with the top of the tree, about 20 feet away from it. "Hooray!" you shouted. "Isn't that fine?" shouted Winnie the Pooh down to you. "What do I look like?" "You look like a bear holding onto a balloon," he said. "Not," said Pooh anxiously, "not like a small black cloud in a blue sky?" "Not very much." "Ah, well, perhaps from out here it looks different, and, as I say, you never can tell with bees." There was no wind to blow him nearer the tree, so there he stayed. He could see the honey, he could smell the honey, but he couldn't quite reach the honey. After a little while, he called down to you. "Christopher Robin," he said in a loud whisper. "Hello." "I think the bees suspect something." "What sort of thing?" "I don't know, but something tells me that they're suspicious." "Perhaps they think that you're after their honey." "Oh, it may be that. You can never tell with bees." There was another little silence, and then he called down to you again. "Christopher Robin?" "Yes?" "Have you an umbrella in your house?" "I think so." "I wish you would bring it out here and walk up and down with it, and look up at me every now and then and say, 'Tut, tut, it looks like rain.' I think if you did that, it would help the deception which you're practicing on these bees." Well, you laughed to yourself. "Silly old bear." But didn't you say it out loud because you were so fond of him? And you went home for your umbrella. I'm just going to take a sip of water. "Oh, there you are," called down Winnie the Pooh, as soon as you got back to the tree. "I was beginning to get anxious. I have discovered that the bees are now definitely suspicious." "Shall I put my umbrella up?" he said. "Yes, but wait a moment. We must be practical. The important bee to deceive is the queen bee. You can see which is the queen bee from down there. No, wait. Can you see which is the queen bee from down there?" "No." "A pity. Well now, if you walk up and down with your umbrella saying, 'Tut, tut, it looks like a rain.'" Oh, I think I knocked the mic. "It looks like rain. I shall do what I can by singing a little cloud song, such as a cloud might sing. Go." So while you walked up and down and wondered if it would rain, Winnie the Pooh sang this song. "How sweet to be a cloud, floating in the blue. Every little cloud always sings aloud. How sweet to be a cloud, floating in the blue. It makes him very proud to be a little cloud." The bees were still buzzing as suspiciously as ever. Some of them indeed left their nests and flew round the cloud as it began the second verse of this song. And one bee sat down on the nose of the cloud for a moment, and then got up again. "Christopher, ow! Robin!" called out the cloud. "Yes?" "I have just been thinking, and I have come to a very important decision. These are the wrong sort of bees." "Are they?" "Quite the wrong sort. So I should think they would make the wrong sort of honey, shouldn't you?" "Would they?" "Yes. So I think I shall come down." "How?" asked you. Winnie the Pooh hadn't thought about this. And if he let go of the string, he would fall. Bump! And he didn't like the idea of that. So he thought for a long time. And then he said, "Christopher Robin, you must shoot the balloon with your gun. Have you got your gun?" "Of course I have," you said. "But if I do that, it'll spoil the balloon," you said. "But if you don't," said Pooh, "I shall have to let go, and that would spoil me." When he put it like this, you saw how it was, and you aimed very carefully at the balloon and fired. "Ow!" said Pooh. "Did I miss?" you asked. "You didn't exactly miss," said Pooh. "But you missed the balloon." "Oh, I'm so sorry," you said, and fired again. And this time you hit the balloon, and the air came slowly out, and Winnie the Pooh floated down to the ground. But his arms were so stiff from holding on to the string of the balloon all that time that they stayed up, straight in the air, for more than a week. And whenever a fly came and settled on his nose, he had to blow it off. And I think, but I am not sure, that is why he was always called Pooh. "Is that the end of the story?" asked Christopher Robin. "That's the end of that one. There are others, about Pooh and me, and Piglet, and Rabbit, and all of you. Don't you remember?" "I do remember, and when I try to remember, I forget." That day when Pooh and Piglet tried to catch the heffalump, they didn't catch it, did they? No. Pooh couldn't because he hasn't any brain. Did I catch it? Well, that comes into the story. Christopher Robin nodded. "I do remember," he said. "Only Pooh doesn't very well, so that's why he likes having it told to him again. Because then it's a real story, and not just remembering." "That's just how I feel," I said. Christopher Robin gave a deep sigh, picked his bear up by the leg, and walked off to the door, trailing Pooh behind him. At the door, he turned and said, "Coming to see me have a bath?" "I might," I said. "I didn't hurt him when I shot him, did I?" "Not a bit." He nodded and went out. And in a moment I heard Winnie the Pooh, bump, 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 going up the stairs behind him. And that's the end of the first chapter. This is delightfully pleasant. This is just so charming to read through. Yeah, let's go to the second chapter then. Actually, let's have a sip of water first. Oh. Okay. Chapter 2, in which Pooh goes visiting and gets into a tight place. Edward Bear, known to his friends as Winnie the Pooh, or Pooh for short, was walking through the forest one day, humming proudly to himself. He made up a little hum that very morning as he was doing his stoutness exercises in front of the glass. Tra-la-la, tra-la-la, as he stretched up as high as he could go, and then tra-la-la, tra-la-lo. Help, tra-la-la, oh, help, la, as he tried to reach his toes. After breakfast, He had said it over and over again, over to himself, until he had learnt it off by heart. And now he was humming it right through. Properly, it went like this. Tra-la-la, 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 rum-tum, tiddle-um-tum, tiddle-liddle, tiddle-liddle, tiddle-iddle, tiddle-diddle, rum-tum-tum, tiddle-um. He was humming his hum to himself and walking gaily along, wondering what everybody else was doing and what it felt like being somebody else, when suddenly he came to a sandy bank. In the bank was a large hole. "Aha," said Pooh. "Rum-tum, tiddle-um-tum. If I know anything about anything, that hole means rabbit," he said. "And rabbit means company," he said. "And company means food, and listening to me humming and such like. Rum-tum-tum, tiddle-dum." And so he bent down, put his head in the hole, and called out, Is anybody at home?" There was a sudden scuffling noise from inside the hole, and then silence. "What I said was, Is anybody at home?" called out Pooh very loudly. "No," said a voice, and then added, "You needn't shout so loud. I heard you quite well the first time." "Bother," said Pooh. "Isn't there anybody here at all?" "Nobody." Winnie the Pooh took his head out of the hole and thought for a little, and he thought to himself, there must be somebody there, because somebody must have said nobody. So he put his head back in the hole and said, "Hello, Rabbit, isn't that you?" "No," said Rabbit in a different sort of voice this time. "But isn't that Rabbit's voice?" I don't think so," said Rabbit. It isn't meant to be." "Oh," said Pooh. He took his head out of the hole and had another think, and then he put it back and said, "Well, could you very kindly tell me where Rabbit is?" "He has gone to see his friend Pooh Bear, who is a great friend of his." "But this is me," said Bear, very much surprised. "What sort of me?" "Pooh Bear." "Are you sure?" said Rabbit, still more surprised. Quite sure," said Pooh. "Oh, well then, come in." So Pooh pushed and pushed down his way through the hole, and at last he got in. "You were quite right," said Rabbit, looking at him all over. "It is you. Glad to see." "Who did you think it was?" "Well, I wasn't sure. You know how it is in the forest. One can't have anybody coming into one's house. One has to be careful." "What about a mouthful of something?" Pooh always liked a little something at 11 o'clock in the morning, and he was very glad to see Rabbit getting out plates and mugs. And when Rabbit said, "Honey or condensed milk with your bread?" he was so excited that he said, "Both." And then, so as not to seem greedy, he added, "But don't bother about the bread, please." "But don't bother about the bread, please." And for a long time after that, he said nothing, until at last, humming to himself in a rather sticky voice, he got up, shook Rabbit lovingly by the paw, and said that he must be going. "Must you?" said Rabbit politely. "Well," said Pooh, "I could stay a little longer if you—" and he tried very hard to look for the direction of the larder. "As a matter of fact," said Rabbit, "I was going out myself directly." "Oh, well then, I'll be going. Goodbye." "Well, goodbye, if you're sure you won't have any more." "Is there any more?" asked Pooh quickly. Rabbit took the covers off the dishes and said, "No, there wasn't." "I thought not," said Pooh, nodding to himself. "Well, goodbye, I must be going." So he started to climb out of the hole. He pulled with his front paws and pushed with his back paws, and in a little while his nose was out into the open again, and then his ears, and then his front paws, and then his shoulders, and then... "Oh, help!" said Pooh. I'd better go back." "Oh, bother," said Pooh. "I shall have to go on." "I can't do either," said Pooh. "Oh, help and bother." Now, by this time Rabbit wanted to go for a walk too, and finding the front door full, he went out by the back door and came round to Pooh and asked him, "Hello, you stuck?" he asked. No, said Pooh carelessly. "Just resting and thinking and humming to myself." "Here, give us a paw." Pooh Bear stretched out a paw, and Rabbit pulled and pulled and pulled. "Ow!" cried Pooh. "You're hurting." "The fact is," said Rabbit, "you're stuck." "It all comes," said Pooh crossly, "of not having front doors big enough." "It all comes," said Rabbit sternly, "of eating too much." Eating too much. I thought at the time," said Rabbit. "Only I didn't like to say anything," said Rabbit. "That one of us was eating too much," said Rabbit. "And I knew it wasn't me," he said. Well, I shall go and fetch Christopher Robin." Christopher Robin lived at the other end of the forest, and when he came back with Rabbit and saw the front half of Pooh, he said, "Silly old bear," in such a loving voice that everybody felt quite hopeful again. "I was just beginning to think," said Bear, sniffing slightly, "that Rabbit might never be able to use his front door again. And I should hate that," he said. "And so should I," said Rabbit. "Use his front door again?" said Christopher Robin. "Of course he'll use his front door again." "Good," said Rabbit. If he can't pull you out, Pooh, we might push you back." Rabbit scratched his whiskers thoughtfully and pointed out that when once Pooh was pushed back, he was back, and of course nobody was more glad to see Pooh than he was. Still, there it was. Some lived in trees and some lived underground, and "You mean I'd never get out?" said Pooh. "I mean," said Rabbit, that having got so far, it seems a pity to waste it." Christopher Robin nodded. "There's only one thing to be done," he said. "We shall have to wait for you to get thin again." "How long does getting thin take?" asked Pooh anxiously. "About a week, I should think." "But I can't stay here for a week." "You can stay here all right," said silly old Bear. "It's getting you out which is so difficult." "We'll read to you," said Rabbit cheerfully. "And I hope it won't snow," he added. "And I say, old fellow, you're taking up a good deal of room in my house. Do you mind if I use your back legs as a towel horse? Because, there they are, doing nothing, and it would be very convenient just to hang the towels on them." "A week," said Pooh gloomily. "What about meals?" "Oh, I'm afraid no meals," said Christopher Robin, because of getting thin quicker. But we will read to you." Bear began to sigh, and then found he couldn't because he was so tightly stuck, and a tear rolled down his eye as he said, "Then would you read a sustaining book, such as would help and comfort a wedged bear in great tightness?" So for a week, Christopher Robin read that sort of book at the north end of Pooh, and Rabbit hung his washing on the south end. And in between, Bear felt himself getting slenderer and slenderer. And at the end of the week, Christopher Robin said, "Now!" So he took hold of Pooh's front paws, and Rabbit took hold of Christopher Robin, and all Rabbit's friends and relations took hold of Rabbit, and they all pulled together. And for a long time, Pooh only said, "Ow!" and "Oh!" and then all of a sudden he said, "Pop!" just as if a cork were coming out of a bottle. And Christopher Robin and Rabbit and all Rabbit's friends and relations went head over heels backwards. And on top of them came Winnie the Pooh, free. So, with a nod of thanks to his friends, he went on with his walk through the forest, humming proudly to himself. But Christopher Robin looked after him lovingly and said to himself, "Silly old bear." That's very funny. These are just delightfully short little stories. Just very charming, very fun. Very funny. I'm surprised at how funny this is. This is actually really funny. This is meant to be a short stream. We can do one more. Yeah, it's only been like 35 minutes of streaming. We can do one more stream. One more story, even. Chapter 3, in which Pooh and Piglet go hunting. Oh, hang on. Oh, hang on. Yes, Chapter 3, in which Pooh and Piglet go hunting and nearly catch a woozle. The piglet lived in a very grand house in the middle of a... Oh my goodness. The piglet lived in a very grand house in the middle of a beech tree, and the beech tree was in the middle of the forest, and the piglet lived in the middle of the house. Next to his house was a piece of broken board which had Trespassers W on it. When Christopher Robin asked the piglet what it meant, he said it was his grandfather's name. No, hang on. I'm going to sit back a bit. Yeah, he said it was his grandfather's name. My lighting in here is not the best. Grandfather's name had been in the family for a long time. Christopher Robin said you couldn't be called Trespassers W, and Piglet said yes, you could, because his grandfather was, and it was short for Trespassers Will, which was short for Trespassers William. And his grandfather had said two names in case he... And his grandfather had two names in case he lost one. Trespassers after an uncle, and William after Trespassers. I've got two names, said Christopher Robin carelessly. Well, there you are. That proves it, said Piglet. One fine winter's day, when Piglet was brushing away the snow in front of his house, he happened to look up, and there was Winnie the Pooh. Pooh was walking round and round in a circle, thinking of something else. When Piglet called to him, he just went on walking. "Hello," said Piglet. "What are you doing?" "Hunting," said Pooh. "Hunting what?" "Tracking something," said Winnie the Pooh, very mysteriously. "Tracking what?" said Piglet, coming closer. "That's just what I ask myself." "I ask myself? What? What do you think you'll answer?" "I shall have to wait until I catch up with it," said Winnie the Pooh. "Now, look there." He pointed to the ground in front of him. "What do you see there?" "Tracks," said Piglet. "Paw marks." He gave a little squeak of excitement. "Oh, Pooh, do you think it's a woozle?" "It may be," said Pooh. "Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. You can never tell with paw marks." With these few words, he went on tracking. And Piglet, after watching him for a minute or two, ran after him. Winnie the Pooh had come to a sudden stop, and was bending over the tracks in a puzzled sort of way. "What's the matter?" asked Piglet. "It's a very funny thing, said Bear. "But there seem to be two animals now. This, whatever it was, has been joined by another, whatever it is, and the two of them are now proceeding in company. Would you mind coming with me, Piglet, in case they turn out to be hostile animals?" Piglet scratched his ear in a nice sort of way, and said that he had nothing to do until Friday, and would be delighted to come in case it really was a woozle. "You mean in case it really is two woozles? You mean in case it really is two woozles, said Winnie the Pooh. And Piglet said that anyhow he had nothing to do until Friday. So off they went together. Oh, hang on. There was a small spinny of large trees just here, and it seemed as if the two woozles, if that is what they were, had been going round this spinney. So round the spinney went Pooh and Piglet after them, Piglet passing the time by telling Pooh what his grandfather Trespasser's W had done to remove stiffness after tracking, and how his grandfather Trespasser's W had suffered in his later years from shortness of breath and other matters of interest, and Pooh wondering what a grandfather was like, and if perhaps this was two grandfathers thereafter now, and, if so, whether he would be allowed to take one home and keep it, and what Christopher Robin would say. And still the tracks went on in front of them. Suddenly, Winnie the Pooh stopped and pointed excitedly in front of him. "Look!" "What?" said Piglet, with a jump. And then, to show that he hadn't been frightened, he jumped up and down once or twice more, in an exercising sort of way. "The tracks," said Pooh. "A third animal has joined the other two." "Pooh!" cried Piglet. "Do you think it is another woozle?" "No," said Pooh, "because it makes different marks. It is either two woozles and one, as it might be, it is either two woozles and one, as it might be, whizzle, or two, as it might be, whizzles and one, if so it is, woozle. Let us continue to follow them." So they went on, feeling just a little anxious now in case the three animals in front of them were of hostile intent. And Piglet wished very much that his grandfather T.W. were there instead of elsewhere, and Pooh thought how nice it would be if they met Christopher Robin suddenly, but quite accidentally, and only because he liked Christopher Robin so much. And then, all of a sudden, Winnie the Pooh stopped again, and licked the tip of his nose in a cooling manner, for he was feeling more hot and anxious than ever in his life before. There were 4 animals in front of them. "Do you see, Piglet? Look at their tracks. 3, as it were, woozles, and 1, as it was, whizzle. Another woozle has joined them." And so it seemed to be. There were the tracks crossing over each other here, getting muddled up with each other there, but quite plainly, every now and then, the tracks of 4 sets of paws. "I think," said Piglet, when he had licked the tip of his nose too, and found that it brought very little comfort, "I think that I have just remembered something. I have just remembered something that I forgot to do yesterday and shan't be able to do tomorrow. So I suppose I really ought to go back and do it now." "I will do it this afternoon, and I'll come with you," said Pooh. It isn't the sort of thing you can do in the afternoon," said Piglet quickly. It's a very particular morning thing. That it has to be in the morning, and if possible, between the hours of what would you say the time was?" "About 12, said Winnie the Pooh, looking at the sun. "Between, as I was saying, the hours of 12 and 12:05. So, really, dear old Pooh, if you'll excuse me, what's that?" Pooh looked up at the sky, and then, as he heard the whistle again, he looked up into the branches of a big oak tree, and then he saw a friend of his. "It's Christopher Robin," he said. "Ah, then you'll be all right," said Piglet. "You'll be quite safe with him. Goodbye," and he trotted off home as quickly as he could, very glad to be out of all danger again. Christopher Robin came slowly down his tree. "Silly old bear," he said. What were you doing? First you went round the spinney twice by yourself, and then Piglet ran after you, and you went round again together, and then you were just going round a 4th time." "Wait a minute," said Winnie the Pooh, holding up his paw. He sat down and thought, in the most thoughtful way he could think. Then he fitted his paw into one of the tracks. Then he scratched his nose twice and stood up. Yes, said Winnie the Pooh. I see now, said Winnie the Pooh. I have been foolish and deluded, said he, and I am a bear of no brain at all. You're the best bear in all the world, said Christopher Robin soothingly. Am I? Said Pooh hopefully. And then he brightened up suddenly. Anyhow, he said, it is nearly luncheon time. So he went home for it. Do we want to read another one? How long is it? Because that was a very short one, I think. Yeah, it seems like a lot of... They're all just short stories, aren't they? You know what? We're on 46 minutes. Let's... This is just meant to be a short gorilla stream, I guess. What do we want to do, folks? Do I wanna know? Do I want to know? Do I wanna know? Do I wanna know? You know what, now? Let's leave it there for now. Yeah, this isn't meant to be super long. This is just meant to be a short little stream. Trying doing a reading stream, because I've not done one in a long time. And I kind of just wanted to do something, because I was a bit annoyed today. A bit depressed, quite depressed. And yeah, that was very pleasant though, just reading a comfy little Winnie the Pooh story. It does make me want some honey and bread though. I didn't have any food tonight, actually. I wasn't very hungry today. Righto. Yeah. I don't really know what else to say. This has certainly been a stream. This is actually quite enjoyable. Oh, hang on. Oh, hang on. Hang on. Oh. Sorry about that. I opened up the internet and there was a video playing because I did the restore tab thing that you can do. So yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah. No, I don't think I have much more to say. Alas. It's unfortunate. It truly is. But that's okay. Righto. I think for the rest of the night, I should lean close to the mic. I am just going to... Maybe I should do one more story from Winnie the Pooh. Okay, so the next story is one with Eeyore in, and maybe I should do that. Because it's the first Eeyore story to appear. What to do? God, I feel like Pooh Bear now. Man. One more story, yay or nay? One more story, howdy hey. It puts you in such a whimsical mood. I want to read more Winnie the Pooh stories then. Yes, that would be quite nice. It's just so lovely and charming. It's very funny. I'm really surprised at how funny it is. It's very Mills? Milne? Milne. is actually really, really funny. I'm really surprised. I mean, I thought it would be like a delightful little kid's book. I mean, no, not just obviously made for kids, but enjoyable by everyone. But like, it's just funny. Pooh's just this dumb guy. You know what? No. Let's. I don't think there's anyone in stream anyway, so it's okay. Let's leave the Eeyore story for next stream. No, next stream is not reading. I want to do another reading stream later this week, though. Maybe on Friday I can. No. I'll see what I can do. Because I have many things I need to plan for. Many things I need to do. But yeah. That's about everything. Hopefully there'll be another reading stream this week. I believe if everything goes according to plan tomorrow, I'll be playing Vagrant Story again. I think I'm getting near the end of the game now. And then later in the week, Valhalla, which is a wonderful game. I'm a sleepy boy. Sleepy little doggo living in a bowl. Sleepy little doggo. What's wrong with what rhymes with bowl? Has to pay no toll. Yeah, let's go. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. And yeah. Regardless of where you are in the world, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, your afternoon, your evening, your night. If you're going to bed, like I will be in a little bit, I hope you have the sweetest of dreams possible. And if you just woke up, I really hope you have the sweetest of days possible. I think it's just started raining outside. There's something kind of nice listening to rain noises at night, actually. It reminds me of a conversation I had with a girl I knew quite a few years ago now. Where she was talking about, I think we were just looking outside a window, looking at rain, and she was talking about how she loved the smell of petrichor. Just that smell of moisture in the air after a heavy rain. And I'm like, that's an interesting thing to like. I think it's also just the fact that you can say the word petrichor and know what it means, though. She was an oddball. I don't think it's one of those weird things. You ever meet someone and you realize slowly over time that they're not the best person. I don't think she was a bad person, but she certainly wasn't a good one. You know, as far as those kind of limited binaries can go, which isn't very far, but she was quite self-centered and unempathetic. It took me far too long to realize that. But still, pleasant talks about nighttime petrichor. That's a pleasant memory. I think even with people where you have something of, maybe it's a bit of a buzz phrase now, but a bit of a toxic relationship, I think it's important to still remember the times which were pleasant. Sorry about that. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening, rest of your day, rest of your afternoon. And yeah, have a good night, everyone. Bye!